Hello, friends and fellow bakers. It's Chef Tom from chefinstructortom.com. Welcome back to the channel. I do appreciate you stopping by. Well, today we're going to make some sugar cookies from scratch. It's a simple cookie with a great crunch. You may have made some which are rolled out with a rolling pin and then cut with a cookie cutter. These are very common. The ones we're going to make are using the drop method. Not quite as common. You're going to scoop and then bake them. It does work quite well for this kind of cookie though. You have to be aware though, they will spread a lot. Now I'm going to use a number 30 scoop, which gives me a cookie of about an ounce in weight, and I'll show you all the details in just a second. Meet me in the kitchen. So for these cookies, you're going to need a good solid sheet pan. I just put my mise en place on this, but good solid sheet pan. I'm using a half sheet. I'm using a gold pan today. If you use darker pans, it's going to bake a little faster. Lighter pans bake a little slower. And that's one of the ways we demonstrate heat transfer in school. So that's a quick tip in and of itself. I think you'll find that either way works fine. I like mine pretty brown though, so I'm going to leave these in long enough to brown them all the way through. Now for these cookies you need a good solid sheet pan. I'm using a nice gold half sheet pan today. And we bake these cookies at school to show heat transfer. With a lighter pan, it's going to bake a little slower. With a darker pan, like a black pan that I love using as well, they bake a little faster. Now, we're going to bake these all the way through, so there's no more lightness to them at all. They are nice and dark and crispy. That's the way I like them. You can bake them less, though, if you want them a little more chewy. We're going to bake them at 375 for about 13 minutes, so they are baked completely all the way through. Your oven might vary a little bit, so that 13 minutes could vary a little bit as well. But keep an eye on the cookies as you bake them and you'll be fine. I'm going to turn the cookies around halfway through baking to get a really nice even color on the cookies. You may have, well, yeah, I can guarantee you're going to have hot spots and cold spots in your oven as well. So you are going to have to turn your pan around as well during the baking time. I would say at like the 6 or 7 minute mark would be good, and then you're good to go. Now here's the mise en place for the cookie. It's butter, sugar, and eggs. Remember our holy trinity of creaming. We've got some baking soda and salt, vanilla of course for a little bit of flavoring, and a mixture of 2 flours, the cake and bread flour. We're going to sift those guys together. Now when we sift flours together, and we're also going to put it in our baking soda and salt, we are looking to combine all the ingredients obviously, but it also aerates the ingredients so that we get that nice little fluffiness to our cookie, a lightness if you will, that helps in making the cookie just that much more crispy but also nice and fluffy for us. If you'll notice too, much more volume now as it's been aerated. Well, let's get to creaming the butter and sugar out. This is going to be softened butter. It's been sitting out at room temperature for over an hour. And we have regular granulated sugar there. And we're going to cream those guys out. Do it at low speed. You don't need to add any air at this point. That's looking pretty fluffy now. I think that's ready for adding the eggs. And what you're looking for now is that really nice soft, just kind of soft to the touch kind of look to your butter and sugar. It's still kind of sandy. I can still feel the sugar. There's a fair amount of sugar in this compared to the amount of butter, but it is still nice and fluffy compared to where it was, say, 7-8 minutes ago. So we're scrape down the sides again. And we're going to add our eggs one at a time. And I'll show you how they disappear into the butter and sugar. Just add 1 egg. You can speed it up a little bit. And notice the way the egg emulsifies with the butter and sugar. It kind of blends right in. And it also makes the sugar a little smoother then too. Now we stop and we scrape again. But you notice how this batter is getting a little bit more, a little softer as we go. But that scraping is key for the emulsion. We're ready to add our second egg. And notice the way the butter, sugar, and egg are very uniform now. We could scrape one more time before we add our flour. We're going to add the flour in 2 additions, and then we're ready to scoop and bake. Now, I have to say I'm a fan of chilling the dough a little bit before we bake it. That reduces the amount of spread a little bit, but also it makes the cookies hold together a little bit better. Now, like I said, you could scoop and bake right away. Not a big deal. We're going to add the dry ingredients in 2 additions. Once that's pretty well incorporated, you can add the rest of it. That's it. That's all the mixing you need to do. Now what I like to do is transfer it to another bowl and get everything off the paddle there. Now I like to transfer this to another bowl just to make it easier to scoop. So we'll go ahead and take this off. Now, like I said, you could scoop and bake right away. I'm going to scoop using a number 30 scoop here. Just kind of clean it off a little bit. And only 6 cookies to a half sheet pan. And that may seem like a kind of a small amount. The reason for that is the amount of spread that these cookies have. And I'm also going to refrigerate these cookies before I put them in the oven. These cookies are about 1 ounce, and what I'll do is I will just kind of give them a little smush before I bake them. And what's nice is you can use this dough at different times as well. So if I want to put this away, I want to use it at a different time, I can bake cookies whenever I want fresh cookies. They'll spend about 30 minutes in the refrigerator, and this will give it a chance to hydrate the dough and to kind of tighten up that butter so we don't get that big spread. I am going to flatten them out to kind of help the spread a little bit though. Now these guys have spent just about a half an hour in the refrigerator, and what I can do is kind of give a little mush down there and kind of reform it a little bit. And that way I can kind of control the amount of spread I'm going to have. And like I said, they're going to spread quite a bit. Keep an eye on them. I would spin them about 7 minutes into the bake. Set a timer, always a good idea. Total baking time is going to be about 13 minutes. Let's take them out of the oven now and see how they look. I really love that color. That's perfect for me. It is browned all the way through. There's going to be a little bit of carryover cooking as they sit in the pan. Notice I put them on a wire rack to cool. Just give them about 5 minutes to cool and they will peel right off of your silpat or your parchment. There was a little bit of spreading here. Notice that the spread got really crispy at the edge. Some people like that, some people don't. I happen to be a fan of that myself. But we'll have a taste in just a minute. Really nice and crunchy. Kind of a caramelly, well, you can taste the vanilla for sure. But I love that crunch in there. And notice the dark brown color to it. Like I said, if you like them a little lighter, they're going to be an eggier flavor. They are still wonderful. And then we can save these cookies. This batch will make about 2 dozen cookies. And we can go ahead and scoop and bake these guys and make another batch right away. Or you can leave these in the refrigerator and bake them off whenever you want. One of the things we have to do when we make a cream cookie is scrape down the sides. And that's a really important part because if you don't scrape down the sides, the ingredients will not get creamed completely. No matter how good your mixer is, you still need to scrape down the sides. And that includes taking the paddle as well, getting the stuff off the paddle, most of the stuff off there. And just push everything in towards the center. Try to get that, that little bottom knob released of all of its ingredients. And at this point too, we can also add in our vanilla too, as long as we got the spatula here. And the vanilla is going to give a little bit of flavoring. I'm using the vanilla paste today. But again, that is integral in creaming as well. And we won't add the eggs until the butter and sugar are completely creamed out and really nice and fluffy. I'll show you that in a second. Sugar cookies are just one of those great things to have around. They will definitely satisfy that crunchy urge you're looking for. Well, thanks for taking the time to watch the video this week. I do appreciate that. And I hope you'll also take the time to like and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you for that. See you next week on Chef Instructor Tom. Happy baking!